Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're out at the range with a Arsenal. This is a SAS M7 Classic Underfolder, and I recently traded another AK for this rifle, 2 copper custom. It was hanging on the wall for some time and it kept teasing me and taunting me, and finally I dug into my collection and brought out an AK that I felt I could do without to trade for this one. And this one is a Classic Underfolder. And again, it's manufactured by Arsenal. Actually, the whole gun is made right here in the US, and we'll talk more about that in this video. But we'll also compare it to a rifle that's been on the market for a while, which is the SAM7UF or SAM7 Underfolder. Both rifles use a machined receiver, which the Bulgarians are known for. But there is a distinct difference between this rifle and the SAM7UF in a couple of different areas, and that's what we want to touch upon. Also, I want to tell you, because this is the first range session with this rifle that I just recently traded for, and I wanted to talk to you just briefly about how to zero an AK. I'm just going to give you a real quick overview, but there's a really good video by Rob Ski, and it's a tutorial, if you will, that kind of breaks it down how best to zero your AK, at what distance, and things like that, and what tools to use. But again, we'll briefly touch upon it in today's video. So with that being said, let's get started with doing some shooting. We will be using some Federal American Eagle 7.62x39. It's a 124 grain bullet, standard lead core with a copper jacket. It's non-corrosive. And yeah, you can find this stuff when things aren't crazy like right now. At the time I'm filming this, we're right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's why Jason's not here and I'm filming off a tripod. So hopefully we'll be back to a normal schedule here in a couple of weeks. But until then, get used to the tripod and the much smaller, easier to use camera. The one that Jason has is much more complex. Messes with my mind. All right, let's get started. The SAS M7 Classic Underfolder is a rifle that's manufactured right here in the United States by Arsenal. So instead of having a Bulgarian-made barrel and receiver and things like that, it's manufactured here in the US. This rifle actually costs more than the Bulgarian imported model, which I'll show you here in a minute, the SAM7. But the reason I like this rifle is because of a couple of features. First of all, it just has a bare muzzle nut, which the other rifle has as well, but we have a 45-degree angled gas block up here versus the 100 series type 90-degree angled gas block that you'll find on the SAM7UF and other Arsenal rifles. Coming back, we have the blonde wood, traditional checkered thick wood pistol grip, machined receiver. I love machined receivered AKs. And then probably the coolest feature for me is this slightly downward angled rear, of course buttstocks are in the rear, the stock. It has the half tubular stock rails that come out, and again it's at a slight downward angle with the folding end piece, and you can hear it has a nice little detent in there. To fold it, there's a button on this side of the receiver. You simply push that button in, push down on the stock, it'll fold under, and it will easily pass over a magazine because it's cut out right here, and fold up into a nice small package. So what is it about this stock that I like? It's that classic look. It's that downward angle of the stock that really appeals to me on the SAS M7. So let's take a look at the SAM7UF. Standard muzzle nut. I just like the way they look. Obviously the slant brake offers a little bit of muzzle rise mitigation, but here we have the 100 series type gas block with the 90-degree angle port, and we have the polymer furniture, and you'll notice that the underfolder will also clear a full 30-round magazine that's inserted. But the stock on this one comes straight back. And then we have the standard folding end piece. Now what's interesting about this is there's no detent on this one, it just folds. There's no clicking, no detent, and it comes straight back. Now the reason they went to the straight back style stock is because it puts the stock in line with the shoulder and in line with the bore of the rifle in an effort to mitigate, again, muzzle rise, where the Classic, because of that downward angled stock, when you fire it, the bore is above the stock, and so it wants to tend to climb up on recoil. I just like the way it looks though, because this is a classic style stock, which is why they probably named this the Classic rifle. All right, so that's the big differences between the two rifles, the SAM7 and the SAS M7 I'm holding here. Let's talk a little bit about how to zero this rifle. All the adjustments for zeroing the rifle are done via the front sight of the AK, both windage and elevation. The rear sight is fixed. However, the rear sight can be used once the rifle is zeroed to select the range in meters, how far away the target is. But when it comes to actually setting the BZO or the zero on the gun, you're going to do that by adjusting this front sight. Now, when you're doing that, you have to keep something in mind. The adjustments will be counterintuitive. By that, I mean if you're shooting a group and the group is left of center, to bring that group to the right, you're going to push the front sight to the left. The exact opposite is true if the group is shooting to the right of the bullseye. All right, now with elevation, same thing, exactly the opposite. If you're shooting, the group is shooting high and you want to bring that point of impact down, you're going to screw the front sight up. And then, of course, the opposite is true for reversing the elevation. If you're going to make adjustments to an AK, and if you have a lot of AKs on hand like I do, it makes sense to invest in a high-quality sight adjustment tool like this Magnum-Matic. I've had this thing many years. I don't recall exactly what they're going for. I've had it for a long time, but it's well worth the investment if you have AKs or if you're constantly trading them and buying them or collecting them. Investing in a tool like this will become very, very valuable to you. There are Chinese tools that are out there that, in my experience, break more often than work. And that's why I ultimately wound up investing in a Magnum-Matic, because I like AKs quite a bit. So let's say that I want to move my point of impact to the right. I'm going to push that drum to the left. I would slide it over the front sight like this and tighten down the tool and make sure that that drum is able to freely move through the hole that's cut through the other side of the tool, which I'll show you here in a second. All right, so now I've snugged it up on that front sight drum. I don't want to push it because I've already zeroed the rifle. But now you can see how it sets on there. The drum has to be able to pass through this hole. If it's like on some of the cheaper Chinese tools, that hole's not the right size or in the right location. And when you start to crank down on that lever thinking you're moving the drum across, what you're really doing is that drum is running into the tool itself, and that's many times how you break the Chinese tools. The Magnum-Matic has a much larger hole in it that I've found in some of the Chinese sight tools, and it allows for just about every, well, not just about every AK I own, I've used this tool on, and it works just fine. So the other part of the tool is the elevation adjustment. So you'll notice here on the end, it's cut like a square cut, and every AK I own has the exact same style front sight, so this will fit onto the front sight. Set it down until it drops onto the front sight, and now you can twist it either up or down to adjust for that point of impact. By now you guys probably know how to take an AK apart. I'm going to show you what the insides of the SAS M7 so you can see what they look like. So the first thing you're going to do obviously is remove the magazine, make sure that the weapon's empty. Take the safety off, pull the bolt to the rear, check the chamber, and make sure the chamber's empty. And once you're sure the gun is empty, you can start the disassembly. All AKs are pretty much the same. You have a button here on the rear. You push in on that button and lift the top cover up. Boy, this thing's tight. And once you get that top cover off, now you can see the inside of the rifle. This is your recoil spring. Push in, pull out, and there's the recoil spring for the rifle. Then you're going to pull the bolt carrier to the rear, and it'll pop up on its own. And now you can see the bolt and carrier. Rotate the bolt, pull it out of the carrier, and that's disassembled. And the quality on this thing looks really, really nice. Haven't shot it much, obviously. You can tell by looking at it. Today's its first range session. I just got it zeroed, so it has less than 40 rounds through it. But now you can see inside the rifle, and it looks just like, the quality anyway, looks just like my Bulgarian-made SAM7UF Underfolder. Now these rifles do have a hammer-forged barrel, and it is chrome-lined chamber and barrel. So it looks like a really, really nicely made gun. Yep, beautiful. Put it back together, you just reverse the process. Just the right tension on that lever for the gas tube. I like that. Take your bolt and carrier, put your bolt in the carrier, rotate it, push it forward, set that into the receiver, push it forward, recoil spring, and let's see how hard this is to get on. Popped right on real easy, and there you go. Back together. Yeah, I really think this is a beauty. What a beautiful rifle. Well, the sling went on just as I figured it would. Only took a couple of minutes to put on, and it is a classic AK type sling with a hook in the front and just loops through here on the rear. But it allows me to carry the rifle the way I like to. I've carried AKs like this for many years just by throwing it over my neck, and I've even done the same thing with ARs. I like these simple military slings. Overall, the quality on this rifle is exactly what I would expect from an Arsenal build. It doesn't look any different in terms of quality than the Bulgarian rifle. The wood is beautiful. I love that blonde furniture, and I really like this classic underfolder design. And even though it doesn't recoil directly back into my shoulder, it still just is something I like. I like triangle folders, and I like downward sloped underfolders like this. One thing I didn't mention when we were talking about zeroing the rifle is that very rarely will you find that the front post is perfectly centered between the protective ears or the protective hood in the case of Chinese AKs. This rifle's no different, just slightly favoring left by the time I got it zeroed. So if you can get the gun zeroed, that's normal. A lot of guys will freak out because the sights to one side or the other are high or low in their opinion, and they want the manufacturer to replace it. If you can get the sights zeroed and the gun shooting, most of the manufacturers are going to tell you that's the AK. And I tell you the same based on my experiences with many of these rifles. So this thing is going to cost right around $1,999. Again, I traded an AK for this and had to pay a little bit of the difference, but I think it was a good investment. This is a great range day, first range day, I should say, for my SAS M7. It really performed the way I had hoped it would, and I was able to score hits easily all the way out to 200 yards on my challenge steel target. Guys, if you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best way to do that is become a Patreon supporter. We are viewer supported. We don't take money from Arsenal. We're supported by you, our viewers, so we can share our honest experiences with you and not have to dilute our content. And so again, there's a link down below. Click that link and consider becoming part of our Patreon family. Also, right here on YouTube, there's a little join button underneath the video player. Give that button a click and consider becoming part of our YouTube membership family right here, again, on YouTube. Last but not least, swing by and check out coppercustom.com, where you can find things like this. All right, guys, thanks for 12 years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon.